Drum roll. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. I am Leah Gesouras here with Richland Source, Ashland Source, and Knox Pages, local online news organization here serving these awesome three counties. And speaking of three, I have three amazing people with me today, virtually literally from around the world, but soon to be here in Mansfield, Ohio. We are going to be talking about a little production. You may have heard about it, Fiddler on the Roof, here at the Renaissance Theater here in Mansfield, Ohio, literally our neighbor up the road. We're going to be chatting a little bit about this is the Mansfield Symphony Orchestra production, but I believe it's more than that. We're going to be doing some really incredible things, which we've done with past symphony productions at the Renaissance Theater. You may have seen or heard me in a couple of those productions, so I'm excited to be back on the stage again here very shortly. But first and foremost, like I said, I'm Leah, head of community investment here at Richland Source. I'm also playing Hoddle, favorite child, some would say, but others may not, and Fiddler on the Roof. And let's go ahead and we'll go around the horn. Bruce, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Lisa, then we'll go to Judy. Just say who you are, and we'll jump in.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Bruce Sabath. I am playing Tevye in this amazing production, and I'm currently walking in Palm Springs.
Hello, my name is Lisa Fishman, and I am playing Golde, and I'm currently sitting in Mar Vista, which is in Los Angeles, California, having coffee.
Hi, I'm Judy Gold, and I am playing Yente. Shocking. And I am also, I'm going to assume Lisa is from New Jersey because I am sitting in New York, but I'm also having coffee, which is a New Jersey way of saying coffee, because that's the only way. What?
Judy, this is so funny. I recently did a voiceover audition and they wanted a Northern New Jersey accent, which, by the way, when I found out who was casting it, it was like a woman from Argentina or something.
Oh my God.
And I'm sitting researching all the day or two before, which is the Northern New Jersey versus, and I mean, they wouldn't have known the difference anyhow.
Right.
I'm from, by the way, I'm from Chicago.
You are? You said coffee. That's so New Jersey.
That was just me attempting a New York accent, but clearly not knowing.
Yeah. All right. I love Chicago.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Okay,
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat.
Well, it is Monday,
I
which
love
in our industry is Shabbat.
Yes, exactly. Bruce Sabath.
Right?
And
It's a
by the
day of
way,
rest.
Yeah.
And Judy, specifically Highland Park, the part of the Jewish.
Oh, yes.
Okay, sorry, Leah. I just had to be, because I figured she probably knows someone from Highland Park.
No, it's perfect. It sets the scene. I love it.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. So this will probably be a fun, easy question, probably one you're expecting, but we'll go around the horn same way we did. We'll start with Bruce. But what is your history with Fiddler on the Roof? Full stop, movie, play, book. Obviously, it's based off of a very famous novel as well. But what is your history with Fiddler on the Roof?
Well, my connection with Fiddler goes way, way back. So far back that I actually wrote a one-man show called Searching for Tevye, which goes into the sort of a long history of my connection to the show. But I mean, it's one that I always loved. It was always playing on the turntable in my parents' house when I was a teeny kid in Rochester, New York. And when I was in middle school, actually, even before that, when I was at summer camp, probably when I was in like fifth grade, I was, third Anna Tefkin from the left and the camp production. And then in middle school, I played Tevye in our choral concert when we did selections from Fiddler on the Roof. And then in high school, I played Tevye in a beautiful and memorable production of Fiddler on the Roof, for which I actually grew a very stringy beard. And then in college, I played Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof my senior year. And then there was a very big gap because when I left college, I wasn't an actor. I was a computer scientist for a number of years and a financial modeler. Long story. But anyway, then about 30 years after that famous Fiddler production in college, and had subsequently become an actor. I had my first actual professional production of Fiddler at Stages St. Louis, playing Tevye there, which was wonderful, and very gratifying, since now finally I was playing Tevye as an adult. And a few years later was the wonderful Yiddish production of Fiddler on the Roof in New York, which was one of the greatest theatrical experiences of my life. And I played Laser Wolf and also covered Tevye in that. And then 2 more productions since then in Boca Raton at the Wick Theater and at the Axelrod in New Jersey, which was just last fall. So I've had a little bit of experience with this guy.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
And I hands down, it's my favorite musical theater role. I think it's probably the best adult male role in the canon, for a grown-up person, male. And I feel very lucky to have gotten to play it, and I'm so excited to be able to perform it for the folks in Mansfield.
Awesome. Thank you. Lisa, what's your history with the show, with the production, movie, book?
So it's funny because I grew up being like the little triple threat, always doing acting and singing and dancing and being in every after school program and every school play from, or camp play from childhood on. And the funny thing is, Anna grew up in a predominantly Jewish area. I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, on the North Shore of the Chicago area. Funny enough, it was never produced in any time when I was growing up, not grade school, not camp, not junior high, high school, college, never was in a production. And of course saw the movie at some point, but to be honest, I can't recall when I first saw it. And Jump too, but of course, growing up, then knew the songs and, was in various, shows and things that used the songs. I got involved in what they call klezmer music, which is the music of Eastern European Jews singing in Yiddish. It's a long story, but anyhow, I got introduced to klezmer music basically via a band singing at my cousin's wedding several decades ago. And then work in the band, of course, would do Sunrise Sunset and Matchmaker, blah, blah, blah. So that was really my history with the show and with the music up until 2018, when I did get cast. Because of my work in Yiddish theater, I had then started to work with the National Yiddish Theater Folkspina in New York, subsequently auditioned for and got cast in that same production, the Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof, that Joel Gray directed. I was originally Bubba Seitel and understudied Golde and Yente and Shandel, which, by the way, if you want good brain exercise, do a show in another language and have to understudy 3 roles while also carrying on your. I mean, seriously, I was like, it was such a grind, but I was like, this is good for my brain. It's good for my brain, better than crossword puzzles. But anyhow, then the second iteration, I was cast as Yente. So I've played, and I've also did get to go on as Golde many times. So I've done the show in Yiddish. This is the first time I will ever have done the show in English. And
wow. Okay.
And literally still learning lyrics, aside from definitely the whole script in English, but literally learning. It's funny. I realized
Interesting.
when I started preparing for this that, like, I really, other than Sunrise Sunset and Sabbath Prayer and Matchmaker, really didn't know the lyrics to, like, Do You Love Me or On a Tevye. I mean, it's so funny, I know them in Yiddish, which I probably wouldn't now because it's been a little while and it doesn't all stay in your head. But that's my background. So this is my first English production of Fiddler on the Roof at years old.
Beauty, give us your history, please.
Oh my God, I can't compare to these two. I'm merely a stand-up comic who took a lot of acting class. Anyway, so let me tell you, mine's coming from a whole other area. I went to the film in 1971 with my family. And it was one of the proudest, that's when you could go to the movies with your family. It was, I can't tell you how my parents, were just, so moved by this production. And I'm sure they went to see the Broadway production, which I did. I think at the first revival in 1976 might have been the first revival. And I have since seen multiple productions. When I was able to, have a Walkman and download music onto a cassette, as a Jew, this story is timeless and so relevant, and it brings out my Jewish pride. Now, that all being said, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan and have always wanted to be in the production. But just a little side note, I auditioned for graduate school in theater, and Bill Esper told me I was too tall, although talented, but he wouldn't be able to cast me. And that was my whole life. You're too tall, you're too tall. And I auditioned for Yente with the Bart Scher production, and I did not get it. And I was so disappointed. And I have to say, the Yiddish production of Fiddler in New York City was one of the most emotional and moving pieces of theater ever. My girlfriend, my partner, Elisa of Chai, 18 years, her grandmother survived the pogroms, and the tears were just running down her face. And it is so, and I have to also say, now more than ever, this show is so important.
Yes.
Which dream come true. I'm playing Yente. Okay.
Yay! A full circle. Yes, it's all no, and that kind of leads me into my next question. And Judy, since I kind of have you segueing, I'll start with you and we'll kind of go back around the horn the other way. Why should people come? I mean, I know the answer, and I think there's a billion different answers and reasons. Why should somebody come see this production who, maybe they know a little bit about it, they know If I Were a Rich Man, maybe they know a couple of songs, but why should somebody or a family or a person or whomever come see this production? And what might you hope they get out of it, or how might you hope they think or feel after it? We can't always predict that. But, as somebody, I'm not Jewish, I'm Greek and Italian. So I come from a very large family. So in ways I relate to that sense of pride and community. And, that's one of my biggest takeaways, is always that sense of family and love. But yeah, long-winded question, but what do you hope people will take away from this production when they see it this upcoming weekend?
Well, I think that question, Bruce and Lisa and I could fill the rest of this podcast with. But I'll just say, history repeats itself, and history is repeating itself. And the assault on the arts that we are experiencing right now is so important, because art weakens propaganda. It is a weapon. And storytelling is also a weapon, because the more you know, the more you think. And this story, as I said before, is timeless, and it is happening right now. And when you are invested in such incredible characters, and you see their plight, and you see that this is something that hasn't really changed, and yet you love these people. You not only see, tradition being played out still to this day. They're coming to get me as I, but it's a learning. It not only, and look, you could go in there and be like, I don't care. I just want to just from pure entertainment value, but there's so many layers, and, authoritarians and dictators hate the arts because they have no defense against them, because it's truth telling. And we seem to have a very precarious relationship with the truth in this country right now. And so it is a story that is generational. Bring your children, bring your grandchildren. It is, great art fosters discourse. You can talk about it. You can talk about history. It's so much. It is so much. And it's such a beautiful story. And, that's how I feel.
Thank you. It's very well said. Very elegant. Thank you. Lisa.
That was incredible. I mean, it's hard to build upon that. Judy kind of said it all. I would just add that regardless of your own family history and background, what's amazing about this story is that the themes are so universal, and you don't have to be Jewish to relate to it. This is a show that I think until the pandemic pretty much was running somewhere on the planet continuously since the 60s and when it first opened on Broadway. And the reason why is, number one, as Judy pointed out, the entertainment value. It's such an incredibly crafted show. The story and the songs. I mean, the songs are just incredible. So first off, again, just at the level of entertainment, it's such an appealing show. But again, one of the reasons why it's been so popular all over the planet is because people, regardless of their background and the culture, relate to these universal themes. The younger generation not taking on the tradition of the parents, being in a foreign land or being a people that is cast out. There are things that people can relate to. So, in this country, it's a country of immigrants, majority of people. And so almost, everyone has some family history that they can relate to, regardless of what side their, family is or was on. So it's incredibly relatable. Just one really quick anecdote, which Bruce probably knows this anecdote. I don't know, Judy, if you know, but anyhow, this is regarding the Fiddler, the popularity of it throughout the planet. One story we were told when we were doing it in Yiddish was there was a production of it in Japan, and the famous Japanese actor was so shocked that Fiddler was so popular in the United States because he said this is such a Japanese story. And which is funny, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
But because, they related to the tradition of the, and just whatever. So anyhow, those would be just a few other little things. I might have not told that anecdote quite correctly, but that's okay. Anyway, so you get the point, and it's it's just, it's an incredible show. But Judy, I love what you just said, especially about, I even wrote it down because it was such a wonderful art weekend's propaganda. You really had some incredible little nuggets there regarding the power of art and the importance of it right now.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Bruce, what do you got for us?
Yeah. I was going to tell that story. You took it right out of my mouth, Lisa.
Sorry.
The story about that is probably one of the most simplest ways to express how universal the story really is. The story that Sheldon Harnick of blessed memory relayed to us when we met him during the run of Yiddish Fiddler. And it's really interesting. Musical theater definitely, is in a lot of ways is a Trojan horse. And it's people come for the singing and the dancing and the stories, but there is often a lot of really interesting messages baked in, especially in some of the the very most traditional musicals. You sort of forget, Sound of Music is really about Nazism, and South Pacific is about racism, and Fiddler on the Roof is about two major things. It's about this universal idea of tradition and surviving through a violently changing world and trying to maintain some kind of grounding in that world. But specifically, it's also about the demonization of the other, and that is a very, very current strategy that's happening among leaders here and sadly around the world right now. And we're all familiar with what's happening now with the idea of trying to find blame for like all of our ills, and trying to point to a group of people and saying it's their fault. It happened in the early Nazi era. It happened, of course. It's happening now, and in Russia, it was the same thing. The Tsar was afraid that the fact that the Jews were different would make it impossible to have them be loyal Russians, and the best thing would be to deport them, basically. And that's the part of the story that is kind of the Trojan horse part in this musical. And it's a great story. I mean, it's a great story, amazing music, and amazing set of characters, some of the most memorable in all of musical theater. I think I like the show.
I think you do too. I think we're all kind of in favor. So thank you. That was incredibly insightful from all three of you. I appreciate that. This is maybe more of a nuanced question. I think it could fan out a little bit, but I think what's interesting about this production that we'll all be a part of this is what we would associate like a concert style. But I know Michael Thomas, who is our artistic director, and he will be directing this, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, Michael. This is going to be just more than, we're standing and we're singing and we look pretty, we sound pretty, that's it. I think the hope and the goal is to do more and to really engage with a beautiful symphony orchestra. So my question is, have you ever performed in a style like this, or what might you be excited to do if you haven't really done a concert style version? What are your thoughts on doing it this way? It's always fun to be able to do a full scale production, of course, but time, art funding, that's difficult. It's hard to be able to do this work, but we want to do it right. So what might you be expecting if you haven't done a concert style like this, or what do you hope to learn or try or experience? Judy, let's start with you again, if we can start with you.
Okay, there you go.
You're good.
Well, there's so many sirens, I can't. I have done a lot of readings. And as a comedian, we've done a lot of presentations of scripts, like on stage with an audience, of movies. We've rewritten them, or just satire. But and I love this. I wouldn't call it a genre, but I love this performance style because, look, I think the focus is, oh my God, this orchestra is, they never get the props, by the way. It's always the last thing you clap for at a performance. And for them to be the real focus of this, and they're not being overshadowed by a set and by, probably Bruce and Lisa will overshadow them with their acting prowess, but just to look at it from truly a musical perspective and storytelling, to me, is another way of seeing the production and taking it in and taking in the story, because you're going to focus on different things. The audience will focus on different things, other things that they wouldn't normally focus on if they were watching a huge set. So I just think it's just artistically another way to enjoy and take in and absorb the show, which, as Bruce and Lisa both said, is so important right now during this time, in this minute, in the second.
Yeah, just visually, I think too, because typically, at least in the past when we've done this, the orchestra is on stage. Like they're right there. They are usually, if anything, Octavio, who's our amazing conductor, he's very excited for this production. I know he's been wanting to do it for a while, but he gets into it too. There is definitely some inclusion of his role beyond just maestro.
It gives them more to do, just more artistic freedom.
Yeah, it's fun. It can be very
and by the way, please clap for the orchestra.
Correct. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, as far as background, I've done some concert. I've never done quite a concert version of a musical, but I've participated in concerts that are a little bit of storytelling, where there's, there is a little bit of introducing or storytelling regarding the songs, and I've also have a background doing some voiceover work and things where you're just using your voice to tell the story as opposed to moving around on a stage. And I think, as far as what you were first asking, as far as just as an actor, it'll be interesting, because I think the use of our voices and our faces will be even that much more important, because we're not going to be moving around the stage. Although I think it'd be kind of fun if we just improvised choreography and right there and then. No, but anyways, so we just all try the big wedding scene without anyone blocking.
We just go for it. Just dive
in. Just do the dances. Just see what happens. But anyhow, one of the things I think, first of all, I'm just excited to work with an orchestra, especially right there on the stage. There's just nothing better than a full sound of the music. And for this show, especially, there are so many beautiful orchestrations, a lot of incidental music, that happens that supports the show. So it'll be, I think, really pleasurable for the audience to hear it and see it. And I think, just as actors, it's an interesting challenge when you're not getting to move around stage, how we still communicate the story, communicate our lines, relate to one another. But I think it also just be fun for the audience. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of the audiences have been there for other concert productions. I don't know the history quite, but I think it's still kind of a novel thing to see a concert version of a show like this, and kind of fun and interesting. And as someone who's as much a musician as I am an actor, that's probably first and foremost a singer musician, I'm just really looking forward to the whole orchestral presence of this production.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting, it leads me into, historically here, obviously I can't speak for anywhere else, but unfortunately, in my opinion, the symphony gets sort of labeled as this old person thing. It's not, young, cool, fun, hip, which, again, I disagree, but I think why we do this is it's a way to incorporate and have different elements and ideas come together with a gorgeous symphony included and packaged. And it just allows perspective. It allows different people to come in, grandchildren, kids, grandma, whomever, to come and enjoy this production, which is always very exciting for me, to be able to see that new excitement and maybe some new faces show up in the audience. So, Bruce, anything from your end?
I'm really excited to do this. I have done, the only time I did like a concert production of a musical was, there's a theater company in New York called the Transport Group, and they often do a benefit where they will do a concert of usually a not frequently produced musical with a big orchestra, and they will, get a lot of different Broadway actors to do one number each, basically. So the same character will be played by multiple people in that case. But I did promises with them a few years ago. It's amazing, and that's an amazing score. And they had a beautiful orchestra, and we had a great orchestra in Yiddish Fiddler. But something tells me that the Mansfield Symphony is probably even more rounded out than the backstage orchestra or the upstage orchestra we had in Yiddish Fiddler. And this is such an amazing score, an amazing arrangement, that having that full symphonic sound to play it is going to be, it's very dramatic. And I think it's inspiring for the performers. It's definitely inspiring for the audience. It's really going to be beautiful. And this is a really ambitious project because not only, as you said, not only are we going to be performing the songs, but we're basically going to go from top to bottom in the show, and we're going to tell the story as well. And having no set, no movement, other than I'm assuming people like stepping up to do their scenes together, in a way helps the audience really focus on the story, and also really hear the music. There are all those amazing dance numbers that people associate with Fiddler on the Roof. Instead of seeing them, we're going to be hearing them in this production, and that's going to be something to really listen to the music of the bottle dance, the music of the dance in L'chaim in the tavern, those big what are normally dance numbers, but to hear that exuberant arrangement is going to be very exciting.
Yeah. Well, rumor has it, I saw some bottles and some black hats in the costume shop, so there may be a couple of dances happening,
Ooh.
potentially.
All right.
But I agree. I think that's that kind of goes back on all of us as a group, as an ensemble, as a troupe almost, to make this really shine. So I'm really excited to be a part of that. So this is my last question, kind of a fun, easy one, maybe, for all of you. But what is your favorite song, moment, character in this production? Yeah, what is your favorite? Bruce, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Lisa and Judy. Favorite moment and or song, thing about the show. I know that's tough for you, but
that is so unfair. I mean, I feel like, oh God, but it's like asking me which is my favorite child. Like you said, Puddle is my favorite child. Well, I love Puddle, and I love the scene at the train station. And that is like one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the show. Act 2 is just heartbreak after heartbreak, and that is definitely one of them. And the other is Kabbalah, which is, the number where Tevye has to make the ultimate decision, which is probably the hardest and most controversial, moment in the show. No spoilers. And, those are, yeah. And of course, Rich Man is super fun. I cannot tell a lie.
Lisa, any favorite moments, musical numbers in the show for you?
I mean, there's so many, but I always tend to go to the really emotional parts in my mind. And spoiler alert here, that comes to mind is well, first off, it's funny because Bruce, when you bring up the train scene, and oh my God, it's just that always rips my heart out. But near the very, very end of the show, again, spoiler alert for anyone who's not seen it and doesn't want to know, plug your ears for a second. The moment when, Tevye has cast out Chava because she's married a Gentile, and when she comes back to say goodbye to them, and when he finally, can't even really look at her, but he says, God be with you. And as Golde, who's dying inside because she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to sever her relationship with her daughter, and she's very torn, and she's being controlled by her husband, and for her, it's such an it's just such an emotional moment in the show. Um, so that's for me one of the just favorite little moments in the storytelling of the show.
Beautiful. Yeah, it looks like I've got a tall order to fill here in a couple of days. I'm up for a good
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
Judy, for you?
Wow. I concur with Lisa and Bruce that there's really no, it's like your favorite child. I agree with you 100%, Bruce. But I think for me, two things. As someone who grew up in an observant family, and proud Jews, not, we have to do this and all of that, enjoying, loving all the traditions. The Sabbath prayer to me, because it is a constant in my life. It connects me to my mother and my grandmother and my father. And it hasn't changed in thousands of years. That whole tradition of Shabbat, as Bruce loves, because his name is Bruce Sabath. But so for me, that is a really poignant moment. Also, I have a very funny story. I'm friends with Elaine May, and she was briefly married to Sheldon, and I was at dinner with her several weeks ago, and she told me that when he was writing Fiddler, the "Do You Love Me," which is, I love that as well, but when she says, yes, I love you, he came home and was like, what do you think of this? And Elaine May actually wrote that, of course I love you, what are you talking, like that sort of response to that. And it just makes me love it even more knowing that.
Amazing.
But I have two sons, and both Jews. One's in Israel right now playing basketball, and any maternal child stuff really hits me in the gut.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That was all I had today. Don't go anywhere. But we're going to wrap this up with our last little plug here. Obviously, thank you so much. This was incredible, incredibly insightful. I'm so excited to see all of you in person later this week. I think it's going to be a wonderful production. We're so thrilled to have you here in Mansfield. Hopefully you've heard only good things. Maybe not, but hopefully all good things. We're a very friendly bunch, and we are so incredibly excited to have all of you with us. For our listeners and our readers out there, thank you so much for supporting local journalism. We appreciate that. And you can come see Fiddler on the Roof this Saturday, May 10th at 7:30. You can get your tickets at rentickets.org. Call the box office. They're open Tuesday through Friday. They opened at noon. So thank you so much to our readers, and we will see you soon.
Yeah.
See you.
Yes,
Oh, the
baby.
hat, the
We did
hat.
it.
Oh, that's awesome, Bruce.
You guys did it. Thank you so much. That is all I had. This was so awesome and insightful. I'm incredibly inspired. I'm so excited to meet you guys in the
That was
flesh.
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time. And like I said, I'll get to see all of you in person, and we're thrilled to welcome you. If you guys have any questions or any follow-up, you have my email. Would love to keep in contact. And I'll share, obviously, the
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
I yeah, I think we're going to get the audio out probably no later than Wednesday. We obviously want to promote the show with this. So yeah, but I'm so excited to meet you and sing with all of you and share this beautiful piece. So thank you.
Yay. I'm excited.
And
Thanks for
enjoy your
letting us.
morning. Yes, enjoy your day
Thank
off.
you.
Enjoy. Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Thank
Lisa, it's
you.
great to see you. And Judy, great to
You
meet you.
too.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys in a few
Mwah.
See you very
days.
soon.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.